Just because you pushed a human being out of your vagina does not mean you own him or her. Do not have a kid, do not have a child, do not bring a soul into this world until you consider these things. Some of you actually have kids for selfish reasons. Some of you have kids to trap another human being. Some of you have a kid because you want a guy to marry you. Some of you have a kid because you are sad and you think that having a baby will make you happy. Some of you have a kid because you want someone to take care of you when you're old. Some of you have a kid because you want someone to clean the house. No, kids are a responsibility, and there's more than to parenting. There's more to having a kid than just pushing them out. So I'll be giving you a list of things you should consider before having a child. The first and most important thing on my list to consider before having a child is to heal your trauma. The reason why this is number one on the list is because it's very, very important. If you haven't healed your trauma before having a kid, you're 100% most likely to pass it on to your child without realizing. Even when you say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to do this to my kid like what my mom did to me, I'm not going to do this to my kid like what my father did to me. If you don't heal those traumas, if you don't deprogram yourself, if you don't heal your nervous system, your mind, your body, your soul, everything from that trauma, you are 100% most likely to pass it on to your kid. You're 100% most likely to treat your daughter like how your mother treated you. You're most likely to treat your son like how your mother treated your brother. Okay, if you don't heal your traumas, if you don't heal your desperate need for attention issues, if you don't heal your desperate seeking behaviors, if you don't heal your trauma, you will end up throwing all that anger. You end up turning your child into a black sheep. And to me, a black sheep is the person that is chosen in the family to blame things on. The black sheep is the family's punching bag. The black sheep is the one everyone blames when something goes wrong in the house. The black sheep is the one the family throws their shame, their trauma, their failures, everything that they don't like about themselves, that is thrown on the black sheep. So if you don't heal yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't deprogram yourself out of certain things that's happened to you across your life, you are most likely to pass that on to your kid. And this is how generational trauma begins. What was done to you, you do to your kid. If your kid doesn't know any better and want better for themselves, they do it to their kid. That kid does it to their kid. So it goes on and on and on and on and on until someone in that line decides to put an end to it. So first and foremost, heal your trauma. The second one on my list, I think I've said this already, is having a kid isn't gonna fulfill you. Like, there are some people out there, they think having a child will make them happy. They think having a child will make them feel like they've achieved something, or they think having a child will make them feel like they've come forward in life, will make them feel like they've done something in life. No, having a child shouldn't fulfill you. You should already feel fulfilled. It's the same way as to get into a relationship, or it's the same as buying a new item. Sometimes we get into relationships or we buy new items because we're unhappy, because we feel like this item is going to make us happy. But then we get into a relationship, we end up buying that item, then we still don't feel fulfilled and happy from within. That is because whatever fulfillment that you are looking for as a human being, you should already have that. Only you know those needs. You should be able to point out and stem out and root out where this feeling of emptiness is coming from. You should be able to point out why you need to feel fulfilled. Maybe it's because when you were young, you didn't get enough attention, you didn't get enough love. Maybe when you were young, you were quite disappointed a lot, or like something happened in your childhood that is making you feel constantly unfulfilled. So you have to dig down into yourself to discover why you feel unfulfilled, and then sort out the steps. There are free resources online like Google, ChatGPT, TikTok, YouTube, all these sources. There are books out there as well. The Mountain is You, one of my favorites, that can help you to root out and solve the problem before having a child. Having that child isn't going to fulfill you. In fact, having that child without solving your own fulfillment issues might actually be one of the biggest mistakes in your life, because then you will start seeing the kid as a problem. You will start seeing the kid as a mistake. The kid might actually end up being a burden, or you might end up bringing more responsibilities in yourself, in your own fulfilled self, and that might make you even more frustrated. That might make you even more stressed out. That might even lead to anger, and you might take that anger onto the kid. Meanwhile, the kid hasn't done anything to you. You are the one that is doing stuff to yourself. You are your own up, okay? So that kid isn't here to fulfill you. That kid isn't here to fulfill your needs. You should already have your needs fulfilled. You should already be happy. You should already have self-love before bringing another kid into this world. Now, the third thing on my list is emotional incest. When you bring a child into this world and you brought them in the idea of them fulfilling your needs and the idea of them making you happy, you actually end up creating emotional incest, whereby instead of emotional support flowing from the parent or the carer to the child, emotional support is flown the opposite way, in this way, from the child to the parent, which isn't right, because you actually end up burdening the child. You actually end up stressing out the child mentally, because when you're growing up, you as the parent, you are meant to support the child. You are meant to teach the child about emotional regulation. You're supposed to teach the child how to care, how to look out for the people, how to love themselves, how to take care of themselves, how to please themselves, how to make things to make themselves happy. But then you are not doing that because you don't feel fulfilled in yourself, and you are looking forward to receiving your emotional support. I'm sure some of you grew up whereby as a child, and even up to now, you were in a position whereby you had to regulate your parents' emotions, and because growing up you had to regulate to your mom or your father's emotions. Your mom or your dad were always bursting out. Every time they cough, you are like, every time they breathe in deeply, you are like, every time you hear an emotional action somewhere, you are immediately heightened, because you've been conditioned to respond to them emotionally. You've been conditioned to respond to their emotional needs like emergency. And growing up, that has made you hypersensitive and hyper aware, and whenever you are outside or wherever you're with a group of people, you can literally sense and point out when someone is having, let's say, an emotional breakdown, or when someone is angry or unhappy. And it can get to a point whereby when that carer or when that parent is angry or unhappy, you think that it's your fault and that it's your responsibility to make that right. Meanwhile, you haven't done anything, and that parent has issues on their own. I actually grew up in an environment like that, whereby the sperm donor in the house, who was a narcissistic man-child, expected us to regulate his emotions, expected us to give him emotional support, and then when you didn't, you basically get bullied and disrespected and treated like a rock. And that is something I refuse to do, because it just felt so wrong. It felt so uncomfortable. It felt so wrong, and the whole time in my mind I was like, isn't that supposed to be like, are you not the one who's supposed to teach us emotional regulation, how to deal with our emotions, how to solve our emotions, for us to get emotional support from? But if you're the one seeking it from us, then what is the future for us? How will we learn to appeal to ourselves, to make ourselves happy, if you are seeking emotional support from us? And then as you grow up, you end up attracting partners whereby you feel like you have to manage their emotions, you have to calm them down, you have to talk a certain way, act a certain way so they don't get angry. You have to make sure that they're always happy. You're basically babysitting them when it comes to their emotional needs. And there are so many relationships out there whereby the dynamic is like the woman is calming herself down, not raising her voice, not speaking her mind, not speaking as freely as she wants to, because this narcissistic king baby will get angry, or he will shout, or it'll be an emotional outburst, blah blah blah. All these things starts from home. I'm a big believer that everything that happens in your adult life starts from home, especially in the way in which you interact with other people and how you view other people. Because when you were growing up, let's say your parents, your carers, they were your world, and then when you grow up, as you grow up, you see the lens of the world through them. Because if you grew up in a nice household where everyone was nice, kind of respectful, you think that people out there are respectful. When you grew up in a house where you were abused, you didn't feel safe anywhere, you start thinking that the world out there is not safe and everyone that you meet wants to abuse you or take advantage of you. The next point on my list is that kids are a responsibility, not a blessing. Okay, children are a responsibility, and you, the person that has decided to bring the child into this world, you are fully responsible for that human being. You bring a child into this world because you have time to take care of them. You have the means to take care of them. You don't bring a child into this world because you think that there are other people out there who is going to help you, or because you think that you have other kids, or that you have an eldest daughter that will help you take care of the child. No, you bring a child because you have time to take care of the child. Yeah, because there are so many people out there, they don't have the means, they don't have the time to take care of the child. Yeah, this actually draws into my next point, whereby I want to say that if you are poor, if you don't have the financial means to have a child, do not have a child. Don't be poor and then have a kid and be like, the kid will be a blessing, the kid will bring money into the family. How? How is the kid going to bring money into the family? Yeah, it's like the blessing is now turning into a burden. You have a kid, you don't have any money, your living condition is bad, you don't have much to take care of the kid. You bring a child into this world and then you are like, God will provide. No, you are the one providing. You are the one that needs to make sure that child eats their breakfast. You're the one that needs to make sure that that child have all that they need, all their school supplies, they have nice clothes, that they have their lunch money, their pack. You're supposed to make sure that the child has everything that they need, not God. Okay, you are the one fully responsible for the child. So don't be out here saying, oh, I'm gonna have a baby because the baby will bring blessing, the baby will do this. Make sure that you have the means to take care of the child. Now my next point is that just because you pushed a human being out of your vagina does not mean you own him or her. Just because you decided to have an intercourse with another person and push out a baby does not mean that you own that baby. This especially goes to African parents who tries to make you think and feel that, oh, just because they brought you here and they are raising you, like they try to make it seem like they are doing you a favor. Meanwhile, we didn't ask to be here. None of us asked to be here. Like they make it seem like they are doing you a huge favor. Oh, we are putting a roof over your head, we are buying you clothes, we are sending you to school. You're supposed to do that. Read my lips. You are supposed to do that. Why? Because you decided to bring a human being into this world that you are fully responsible for. I'm a child. I'm not responsible for myself. I'm a baby. I'm a toddler. I'm growing up. I'm new in this world. How can I be responsible for myself except to you that brought me here? Okay? So stop acting like, oh, we brought you here, we brought you clothes, we've given you a house to live in. So because you've done all that, they make you like, they try to make you feel an emotional guilt trip you. They try to make you think that you own them. just because they did those things. Meanwhile, it's not like I packed my bag from, I don't know, from Pluto or Mercury or Mars, and then I landed on their door, and then I knocked, and then I begged to stay with them. None of us did that. We all didn't ask to be here, okay? Just because you gave birth to me does not mean that you own me. Look, it doesn't, in fact, I don't own you, but you own me everything, because you decided to bring me here. You decided to bring a child here. The child does not own you anything, but you owns the child everything. Again, because you decided to have a kid. When you were having sex, when you were having intercourse, when you were pregnant, when you were bringing the child into this world, the child didn't ask you to do that. Okay? None of us asked you to bring us here. You decided to bring us here, so it's your responsibility to provide those things. It's not a favor. It's not something you have to hold on our necks. It's not something that needs to be reminded every second. This leads into my next point. We didn't ask to be here. None of us asked to be here, and also leads into my next point. I've mentioned this already. Like, whenever they do something to you, they hold it over your neck. Like, they are going to remind you till the day they die. Oh, we did this for you. We did that. You are supposed to do that. You are supposed to do those things. And like, this also leads into my next point here. The fact that you are feeding your kid and you are buying clothes for your child doesn't mean you are being a parent. Literally, anyone on this planet can do that. Anyone. In fact, I can't just buy food and clothes and give to someone right now. It doesn't mean I'm parenting them. Anyone can literally just get up one day and just buy clothes, buy toiletries, buy baby stuff, give it to someone. It doesn't mean that they are parenting them. Because I think that over the years, what I've observed is that when it comes to African parents, they think buying you clothes and feeding you is enough. Oh, I'm sad. You have food. Why are you sad? I'm depressed. You have clothes. Why are you depressed? I'm tired. You have a house. Why are you tired? This is literally all they think about. Whenever you try to express yourself or complain about something, you have food, you have clothes, you have a house. Why are you complaining? Literally, they think putting a roof over your head, buying you clothes, feeding you is parenting. That's it. There's a whole lot more to parenting than just feeding your kid. Yeah, growing up, I felt like I was just living with people who were feeding and clothing me. That was it. Literally, it felt like I was living with people who were feeding and clothing me, but it felt like I was here to serve them and worship them. Yeah? And some of them only have kids because they want maids, they want slaves. That's why. And another important point, if you have a daughter, it doesn't mean that God sent her to be your maid. It doesn't mean that God sent her to take care of your future kids. It doesn't mean that God sent her to be a second mother whilst she herself is a child. Like, daughters are forced to grow up and spawn too quickly, whilst boys can just be boys. Yeah, boys can just be, oh, it's a boy, oh, it's just like, oh, guys, that's how they are. But you as a female, there's no excuse for you. Like, there were times I sat down and wondered to myself, like, can they even see or can they even tell that females are children too? Like, can they even realize that we are also kids? Yeah? Because I'm sure most of you can testify that the kind of things you were doing in the household, the kind of responsibilities that were thrown and choked on your neck, let's say by the age of 8 or 12, when your brother was that age, they couldn't even do a quarter of the things that you were doing. I'm sure most of you can testify to that, because I can. The kind of things I was doing at 12 years old When my siblings were that age, they weren't even doing a quarter of those things. And that was okay because they are males. Yeah? Because as a daughter, your childhood is stolen away from you. Your childhood is taken. You are not allowed to be a child. Case closed. Your childhood is taken away from you and you are groomed to be a mother. You are groomed to be a homemaker, to be a slave. You are groomed to serve other people. You are groomed to make other people's lives easier. Like, you don't even get a chance to grow within yourself, explore yourself. Like, this is something that I realized. I remember one day I realized this, yeah, and then I sat down to myself and then I said to myself, what do I like? What do I want to do? What hobbies do I have? I remember I was like 14, 15 at the time. I asked myself these questions. I said to myself, what do I like to do? Like, what's my hobby? Like, I didn't even have a spare time, but I said to myself, in my spare time, what do I do for myself? You know, like, I remember, like, at one point, like, I remember I wanted self-growth, because when you grow up in such household, yeah, all that they program your mind to do is be a maid. Yeah, that's all your brain has been programmed and conditioned to do, is to respond to other people, serve other people, go and do this, go and do that. You are doing this, you are doing that, you're that, just that. It's never into you. Yeah. So remember, I sat down and I was like, I remember, like, I craved for personal growth. I craved for some personal development. I craved for, like, self-discovery. And now I have those things. Now I've discovered those things. But I just remember back then, I was thinking of those things. Yeah, I'm living in an answered prayer without even realizing. Yeah, I remember I wanted those things. Because your childhood is literally stolen from you. And I don't even understand why you have to steal my childhood from me, because you only have one chance to be a kid. And when I grow up, I have the rest of my life to be an adult. But no, in an African household, in fact, the day you are born, you're supposed to grow and mature. When look, you are a child. When you act like a child, you are punished for being a child. When you act and think like a child, you are punished for acting and thinking like a child. I'm a child. Your kid is 6. Your kid is 5. Your kid is 12. Okay? And the last point is to see your kid as another human being, not an extension of yourself. This mainly goes for narcissistic parents here. They don't see their kid as another human being. Again, they see their child as someone they own. Yeah? Because they don't see you as your own person, they don't acknowledge or validate your emotions. They don't acknowledge or validate your feelings and ideas. They don't acknowledge you as a person. In fact, they think you don't exist. They're also the kind of parents that think that you wouldn't exist if not for them. They want to live through you. They will force you to listen to them, but won't listen to a thing that comes out of your mouth because it's not important. They know everything. Oh, they know everything, so you better shut up and listen. Yeah, your kid is not an extension of you. Your kid is their own person. your kid is another human being. And also, if you don't want to understand and accept the fact that your kid will eventually grow up and have ideas of their own, they will have a life of their own, they will have likes and dislikes of their own, they will have boundaries of their own. If you don't want to understand that, then do not have a kid, because there are a few parents, carers out there who do not understand the fact that their kids have their own ideas, their kids have their own morals and beliefs. The fact that you raised me doesn't have to mean that I have to stick by your rules, your morals, your beliefs. The fact that you raised me, the fact that you gave birth to me doesn't mean that you have to live through me, doesn't mean that I have to leave your no. I am my own person, and I can do the things that I want to do with my own life. Okay? So if you don't understand that, then you should not be having a child. I'll catch you in my next one. Bye bye.